What's up, everybody? This was going to be like an actual video, but I'm kind of in the middle of getting my dual PC setup ironed out, and it is quite the mess behind me, and I don't feel like getting the green screen prepared, and I'm just ready to get this one video out for now, so here we are. So, before getting into computers, my very first dream was to become a meteorologist. Unfortunately, having the combination of a rare eye issue and teachers who seemingly didn't care about much, that didn't go very far. I mean, they basically told me just to give up. I mean, under the age of 10, you kind of just believe the adults. I'm about to say something that's a little different. Personally, the past does not matter to me in a way, as right now I'm kind of doing what I wanted to do before. Of course, not the way I want to do it, but I'm able to do a bit of it. So, I'll get into more details later on in another video this year. Before the end of the year, I got a few more videos coming out. But, yeah. So, my next dream was to do anything with computers. At the time, we didn't really have good access to internet, but even I knew at such a young age how important computers would be and how big it was going to be growing. I mean, even without internet access, I learned a lot on the Windows XP that we had at the time. What was really funny was the first day, probably around the first day we got the computer for the first time. My parents and my older sister, they were getting the computer set up while me and my younger sister were in bed. And it was dark, and I was hearing some scary, weird noises, and it terrified me. I run to where my parents are, which was the kitchen, and it was the noises for 3D Pinball Space Cadet. Several years go by, and eventually I get my first PC. It's an HP laptop from Walmart. I believe it was HP Mini 110 series. Fun fact, I have a very old YouTube channel where I have screen recordings from this laptop, and it's still out there somewhere, I'm sure.
Hey YouTubers, I was wondering if somebody could give me a Pokemon Black or White ROM 100% English for no GBA, no error crashes. Who could have the blue screen because I can find the code for that. Thank you. Give me Cardio 13.
But later on, we finally have internet access, and through that, I looked up a lot of stuff on technology and weather, and actually looking up like quote-unquote real-world information. So I focused more on that while trying to get out of school. Another fun fact, my mom had the idea to have me drop out of the 10th grade to focus on actual things I would need later in life. However, now knowing more about the shady things my dad really was, he was definitely against it. All this stuff that happened in the past, it makes me wonder where I'd be now if I had people I was supposed to be with that I could trust and help me like they were supposed to. But again, like I said, it doesn't matter now. So I have this little section here, this little laptop section, due to the fact this is where I had my first taste of Linux. See, there's another video out there where I made a tutorial on how to connect a laptop to an old CRT monitor. I figured this out by noticing a certain slot on the laptop, and I was like, hey, that looks familiar. And at the same time, I was not good with organizing storage or just cleaning up hard drives. So being a young person who is learning things by figuring stuff out on my own, or actually believing a lot of stuff online, I fell for the download more RAM scam a couple of times. I also looked up other stuff that would possibly speed up my laptop. Again, being naive, I thought changing the OS would help. And by changing OS, I mean changing the look of my laptop. I downloaded a skin, basically, but it was Ubuntu Linux. And by using this chart, I used, quote-unquote, a version of either between 8 and 11. And did it make my laptop faster? No. For the rest of my high school years, I went through a couple more laptops. I even took a special class in my senior year that was about computers. I can't remember what they called it, and I'm not sure if it's a universal word for it. Vocab, I think that's what it was called. I can't remember. However, that was some very, very basic information. Like, I'm pretty sure people probably in their 70s, if they weren't exposed to technology, they could probably pass a test pretty easily. And I'm not going to say any names because honestly I don't remember. I don't know how true this is, but apparently the teacher there was full of crap. This came out around the end of the year, so I have no way of knowing, nor do I don't remember much, so I'm not going to say anything. I am, but I'm not. Well, anyway, I graduated. I finally got a job after about a year of filling out a bunch of applications. And around that time, I was watching a crap ton of videos on building my own PC. And you might be thinking this was the time I saved money aside to get computer parts, and you'd be wrong. I saved money for a PS4 thinking that Kingdom Hearts 3 was finally going to be released soon. It only took 5 years after the fact. Eventually I did buy computer parts, and even with all the research I did, I found out that teacher that was supposed to teach us about computers in that one class failed to mention that not everything will go with everything. I learned that after trying to fit an AMD CPU into a motherboard that only fits Intel ones. There goes $200 down the drain. Eventually, I went to college to get into computers a little bit better, and I started taking classes. There were a couple I knew I was going to have issues with, like the math class that I had to take, apparently. But the one class I had many issues with was one of the IT classes. And, honestly, I don't think the professor liked me in that one. But, the thing is, I enjoyed it, though I couldn't pass it. I mean, I enjoyed college. I still have the books that I used with me. But I just couldn't wrap my head around a couple of the classes, and that really sucked. Around this time, the job I was with went through an ownership change, and the new boss fired me eventually, causing me to be unable to finish college and ultimately dropping out. Fortunately, the old boss took it back and brought me back in. I never went back to college. Though if I did go back to college, it probably wouldn't be PC related. It'd probably be like carpentry or writing, some other trade. But, despite all that, I was still working on my hobbies like computers, weather, writing. And I've learned a lot since, and I'm still learning. And that's where we get to today. No, just kidding. We're going back to 2015 when Windows announced that Windows 10 would be the quote-unquote last Windows. At the time, I don't recall hearing about this until a couple years after the fact. Of course, seeing Windows 11, that was pretty much not going to be the case. I couldn't tell you what people thought about that, what seemed like an official announcement becoming not a thing. I don't know if I said that right. But I know very well that the disappointment and negativity continued to grow after how some had to update to Windows 11. Things would get worse after the announcement that people who did not switch to Windows 11 and keep Windows 10 will eventually have to pay either a monthly or yearly payment to continue using it. The thing is, the Great Pirate Era has started due to raising costs, despite many people in the 1% and all that, the politicians saying the economy is great, and I'm over here like, yeah, right, what are you talking about? But I mean, come on, let's be real here. Prices are going up, everything's going to be subscription based, it seems. And to top it all of that, we have Windows Recall. And something tells me, I could be wrong here, but I feel like this is what broke the camel's back for some people who were finally working or already working on escaping Windows to switching to either Apple or Linux. I mean, it's a nice utility when you think about it, to go back to see what they were doing by having the PC take screenshots. So you can go back if you forgot something. That's nice. I like that. However, I'm sure people saw how huge the security issues were, and even though Microsoft said that the info was encrypted, that isn't going to calm people's nerves, which makes sense. That's kind of like saying we investigated ourselves and we found no issue. On top of that, Google's going through a court case and revealing that they kept incognito info. And again, let's be real here. If you honestly believe that Google was not looking at your incognito tabs, that's on you, honestly. Anyway, I've switched to Linux to a degree. I'll get back on that, but let's talk about my journey through switching to Linux. It was not fun at all. First, I went into planning, and let me tell you, as someone who plans a lot and even has backup plans just in case, diving headfirst into Linux was not the smartest thing I did. I have a video kind of on this, and I plan on making at least one more video probably, but we'll see how things are going. But I tried many different distros of Linux with two main things I absolutely needed in mind. I needed one that would help me run most of the games from Steam with Proton, and the video editor DaVinci Resolve. After many attempts and reinstalls and all of that, I ran into Linux Nobara, which is based off of Linux Fedora. And apparently Nobara is created by the same person who makes Proton for Steam, which is fantastic. Also, having to learn how to use a Linux equivalent of programs I use on Windows where it's text-based with no interface was quite challenging to a degree. However, I've realized that using text-based stuff is a lot faster to a degree. Like I said, I'm still learning, but most of the stuff I used to do on Windows is a lot faster on Linux. Also, Linux just happens to be using a lot less resources, which is fine by me. So what do I mean that I'm not completely switching to Linux? What already does have Linux is my main PC and my laptop. My main PC is self-explanatory. It's my main PC. My laptop will be used as my editing machine with DaVinci Resolve. I used to use this laptop to chase weather as well as using it for my dual PC setup, but now I've got that all straightened out. I wasn't a fan of having a flimsy machine that I almost paid $1,000 for to be used as a storm chasing laptop. I did find a more fitting laptop that's actually rugged and helpful. which that laptop that I would be taking will be running Windows as well, due to the fact that the software I use for chasing storms doesn't work on Linux, and it is absolutely trash on a virtual box. And again, Windows is going to be on my streaming PC, just so I can use my Elgato HD60 Pro to capture my main PC through OBS. So, my main PC and my editing laptop has Linux, but my storm chasing laptop and my streaming PC still has Windows. So, like I said, I had a pretty rough time learning how to do anything with Linux. The first 2 weeks were very bad. I won't go into it because I don't like getting mad, but I got pretty mad and it's embarrassing. I hate talking about getting angry, but sometimes, it slips out and it is what it is. But I'm over it now. There's been a couple of times where I've had to fix some stuff, and I can totally see why people won't switch to Linux and decide to stick with Windows. So I'm not going to be that kind of person that's like, I'm better than you because I use Linux. That's stupid. I hate people like that. So, don't dive headfirst into it like I did. If you can, get a virtual machine installed and try out different distros, see which one you like. Try to use it as much as possible, see what you'll be doing for a while before you ultimately just finally install it officially. And even if you do that, you're still going to be going through a pretty big learning curve, and some days it's not going to be pain-free after the fact. I mean, like I said, I'm still learning things, but I eventually did get my computer running to how I want it to, so. And as for some general advice, don't give up on what you want to do, no matter how old you are or how often those high and mighty people talk down to you. If you don't know what you really want to do, try anything. Isn't that Zootopia? Still, even if it's not as significant as you want, find something for yourself and work towards that. It may grow much bigger than you planned. Some things won't be easy, but most of the time you'll have to work towards it, and sometimes there will be big bumps along the way. I wouldn't know. Sometimes it got down to the point where I had to stop everything to take care of that bump. But eventually I do go back to doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like this, like making videos, and working on what I want to do with my life. And that's coming from a person who's been told I can't do things ever since I was very little. With all that being said, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell icon so you know when I upload again, comment down your advice on Linux or anything in general, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. That's what